whatever you feel like, you want to talk about with the label, whatever it is you're excited about, I want to hear about it. But the first thing is I want to shout out Tigers and Daggers. My friend Travis was the one that turned me on to you. And,
oh yeah.
He had saw the podcast, like, you need to interview this guy, and so that's what put you on my radar, and I just like dove in and started like going through you have a huge discography.
Yeah.
I've been listening to the newer stuff you've been putting out.
Yeah. It's daunting.
I bought a few cassettes and was kind of keeping an eye out for like when you do something like this, where you're like, out at a show or whatever, and we can hang out. So, yeah, man, I'm excited to check your stuff out.
I love Tigers and Daggers.
Yeah.
Coincidentally enough, we both live in the same town in Madera, California, where Citrus, the band playing tonight,
saw that.
They're from Madera. So I also worked in Merced for a while. So I have love for Merced and Tigers and Daggers, and since they've opened, he's been fucking super great to me and like carried my releases and just been championing what I'm doing. So like I have nothing but respect for him and what he's doing, and it's cool to see somebody from Madera that is also doing something rad, like having a record store. But I'm pretty sure his folks own the coolest head shop in Madera.
Oh, nice.
So like when we were in high school and like growing up, his parents ran the place where we would go and try to get water bongs or whatever the fuck they would call them, because they didn't want to call them bongs.
Yeah, they had to have some other
but it was called Strawberry Alarm Clock.
Yeah.
And so many of my earliest band shirts were from his parents back when I was in middle school and like high school. So it's just like the connection there is really fucking awesome. So to hear that that followed through 25, 30 years later is fucking awesome. It's like the power of DIY and the community.
I had no idea, dude.
Yeah.
I just knew he was like being cool, like carrying your stuff. He's he's just closer now that that's on. He's been really supportive of us too. He carries like all the local bands. We put stuff out, like he'll more than willing to carry it and help us out. So he's a huge help to the DIY community in general.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, there were so many fun shows that I went to growing up in Merced as well. So the fact that he has a music venue there, or, he's done a couple of shows.
Yeah.
And the fact that he is just being a pillar of that community is pretty fucking amazing.
No,
Yep.
seriously. So I saw you've been doing this since like, I think it said 2011.
Yeah, that's when I started.
That blew my mind, dude.
Yeah, I actually started a record label in 2001, I think, was my first label in Madera.
Yeah.
So that's why having Citrus playing tonight is so special to me, because it's been over 20 years since I've had a band from Madera, and to be able to like have such a killer band, it's amazing. I'm really excited about that.
I didn't know that's where they were from. I was on your Bandcamp page and checking out a bunch of releases, and I'm like, this is sick. When I saw it was Madera, I was like, no fucking way. Like this,
right.
The one that's like 15 minutes away
that's
from
what
me.
I thought
like,
too. Yeah,
Madera. Like,
yeah. You're only 15 minutes away from Madera.
Yeah, Merced. It's like about 15 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm out of Merced.
Yeah.
It's about 15 minutes. 15 minutes away from there. So I feel like there's so many of us that like creatives, musicians, all dream of owning a record label someday. The more I've learned about it, the more I realize I probably really don't want to.
No, you don't. No, absolutely
it's
not.
It's such a tremendous undertaking, dude. And so that's part of what I wanted to get at too. Is like what keeps you going, man? Because the more I find out about it, the more I'm like, dude, people are lucky to like break even sometimes. Sometimes they're just barely keeping ahead.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're like release to release, like trying to make sure.
Yeah.
Almost gambling. You know what I mean? Like this one's gonna
for sure. Yeah.
This one's gonna help out a bit, and then that'll give us enough money to do this next release. Or,
right. Yeah. Yeah, for anybody that's looking to start a record label, my advice is don't.
Yeah.
Unless you have expendable income and you don't mind hemorrhaging lots and lots of money.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm a glutton for punishment, and I feel like I have not a lot to offer to the world outside of, pretty good taste in music. So, that's why I do the label and continue. And, oftentimes I've thought about quitting, but it's like, why? You know, what else am I gonna do? And I'm like, I can worry about how much money I'm losing and all that stuff, but like, when I'm dead, none of that shit's gonna fucking matter.
Right.
And the only thing that's gonna be that matters is like what was left behind, and like
the
that's something
you made,
that,
right?
Yeah. So that's like the powerful thing with about having a label is like, you know, I run pretty specifically to where I don't take band submissions. I know every single band I've ever worked with.
Yeah.
I don't want to work with random people, and it's like I get to invest in my friends chasing their dreams, which I think is pretty fucking amazing.
That's amazing.
And you know, like it's not glamorous or anything like that, but if like I can help them get to, if I can share the platform that I've got from struggling so much, and that helps them at all, then that's like a win in my book.
It's also creating a community, right? I mean, it seems
totally,
kind of like you're a hub for creativity in this area.
You're from Merced, so like, you know, when I was a teenager, I would go to shows at the Mainzer in Merced, and go see these.
We played there a ton.
Yeah. And I got a job in Merced just to go to the Mainzer regularly. I got a job at fucking Hot Topic there, at the mall, just so that I could go to the Mainzer and have an excuse to get their Death by Nachos, which were their crazy plate of nachos that they had. And I was going there like once a week. And then sometimes twice a week, and I was like, you know, I should really get paid to come out here and like try to find a job. So I jokingly like filled out an application at Hot Topic and got a job there just so that I could go to the Mainzer regularly and get my gas covered from Madera and go back and forth. And it's just like the community that was cultivated with Merced and the Central Valley as a whole is really powerful, and I've always kind of held true to that and everything that I do. So, you know, for several years I've had my eyes on Merced bands as well. And just I try to help out bands from the areas that I lived in. So it's like, if I can help that community bridge globally, then that's, you know, super powerful, and like it feels like a great sense of accomplishment.
No, I agree, it is, and I think that's amazing that you have that mentality. Because even another thing I was wondering was like, how do you even find these bands? You know what I mean? Like so many of the bands that like I found on your page, I had never heard of them before that. And I'm like, oh, dude, some of this is like happening right under my nose. Citrus is right there in Madera, and I'm like oblivious.
It kind of goes like, I've been playing in bands for close to 30 years.
Dang.
I've been booking, promoting. You know, I started my first label when I was in high school back in Madera, and like that wasn't the first time I was around music. All my friends were musicians, you know, even when we were pre-tweens or whatever the fuck, the pre-tweenagers, whatever the weird kitschy Christian fucking bullshit they told me was something like that. So it's like, you know, I've been close to the community scene for a long time, and it's all I've ever really cared about. So all the bands I find, they're either I've played with them, I've booked them, I've given them a place to stay. They've helped
out
my
rare,
friends.
By the way, that you know, I feel like that used to be a regular thing. Like when I was in the scene way back when, was like you could announce on the mic like, "Hey, we need a spot to like crash tonight," and you'd likely get one. That's like gone completely now, dude. I have not had one person offer it to us. I feel completely awkward, but. Dude, when you're hours away from, you know, out of town, it's nice when somebody's like, you can sleep on the living room floor, you know what I mean? But
yeah, you know, it's that goes into the part that being in an underground DIY band is not glamorous. A lot of times people think that you're staying in fancy hotels and shit like that.
Yeah.
It's really not the case. I think just before Rona happened, I was putting up bands a couple nights a week because you know, playing in bands and helping out people, I'm always trying to help out folks on tour. So I had 3 humongous couches just in my living room, and then I've had like 17 people. This
accommodates about a band and a half. It's a band and a photographer,
and then people on the ground, and people. I've had like people in my hallway, someone sleeping in my bathroom, like. You know, and then I have off-street parking, which is super rare for the Bay Area. So it's like,
it is.
I'm like, oh yeah, you can park your gear here. You'll be safe. Like, I know most of the people in the neighborhood. You'll be chill. It's like, it's a good spot. I think that sort of community definitely still exists in Oakland, but it really tends to rely on playing shows that make sense. Yeah. And I think a lot of times bands try to go on tour and do things that not necessarily they should be doing. Just because you have the means to do it, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a good idea. Yeah. So like, if your band doesn't have the demand in certain places, like sometimes it's okay to just swallow your ego and just be like, yeah, I don't need to drive 7 hours to play this shitty show that 6 people are gonna be at.
Dude, seriously.
And then like you're basically paying to play, you know? So I think there's like, you should put more emphasis on like the quality of the music and then branch out on like touring instead of like just going and being like, oh, we're a touring band. Yeah. And those are some of the lessons that I've learned the hard way. Yeah. So like I try to impart that sort of wisdom with people that I work with on the label. And I just think that's like pretty important. And so when it comes to like bands that I book, I only book like bands on my label because I've done shows for random people for a number of years, and like sometimes it's just kind of stressful, and I like to know the people, and so that I can like offer things like a place to stay. Yeah, I can cook you a meal. I can take you out to dinner. We can
Which
do
you can only
these
do
things.
If you're like on that more intimate basis.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you know, being in the Bay Area and Oakland specifically, you know, on any given night there's 3 to 4 DIY underground shows happening. Minimum, like sometimes 10 plus, and that's just like in the pocket of metal and shit like that, you know. So it's like there's so much happening at all different times that it's kind of hard to process. Like even tonight, this other band from Fresno that is on my label, they're called Haunt. They are playing in San Francisco, so it's like, you know, you can have so many different shows happening in the same proximity that it's hard to keep up with everything. Yeah. But you know, I think every show is going to be fucking pretty sweet, and I just think when you make that real connection within the DIY communities, finding places to stay is a lot easier. And like, you know, when you also do those sort of connections, you can find people that are going to try harder to book your show better, so that it makes sense for you to go out on tour. Yeah. And so you can come and play these places, so you can get a guarantee, so that you're able to make money and not just lose your ass on playing shows. And, you know, like I said, I've had to learn all those lessons a very, very hard way by eating shit for like 20 years. Oh, yeah. So now, you know, I'm very, very selective over shows I play and things that I do for those reasons.
No, it's good advice, man. I'll take all the advice I can get, man. Yeah, like you said, you stand to lose a lot of money when you kind of skid out. You know what I mean? But dude, this has been awesome, man. I don't want to. I know they're about to do a sound check and stuff like that. So I checked out Renewer. Is that the newest release you just put out? I'm not Renewer. I'm sorry. It was sorry. The album cover was green. It's
so I actually have that with me. So that's digital release yesterday. Full length the vinyl comes out in 2 weeks, but I have copies. It's a band called Leaving, and it's a record called Liminal. Yeah, and it's a doomy shoegaze record from a bunch of people that have played in like really sick doom metal bands, like Noothgrush, Graves at Sea, Lycus, and Funerary. And you know, back when I lived in Madera, I used to punish the drummer on MySpace and be like, yo, you have to get your band back together. I didn't get to see you. You guys were so fucking good. And then, you know, 20 plus years later, we're good friends now. We've played shows together, and now I just get to put out her band.
It only took 20 years of heckling to get,
it took over 10 for sure. And then they got a big paycheck, and they came back for a while. And now they're a brand new band. I had the opportunity to put it out. Really, really incredible mixture of shoegaze and doom metal, and just kind of something a little bit different. And
I liked what I heard, but I had to like slap myself on the wrist and be like, no, listen to Renewer, listen to the guys you're actually going to talk to tonight and stuff like that. But I'm definitely going to be checking that out. And I like the album art. I like that you do variants. Like I saw some like splatters looking ones.
Yeah, we did 3 different colors for the record. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's always, I'm a sucker for variants, you know. Yeah. So
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about? Any more like upcoming releases, or are you doing more of these like showcases, like these?
Yeah. So I have 7 shows booked over the next 2.5 months, between Oakland, Santa Rosa, Sacramento. Hopefully we'll set something up in Fresno.
Okay.
I'd like to do something in Los Angeles. I haven't put out too many bands from LA, but I would like to.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can set something up there. I've been looking at Merced for a while.
Nice.
Just places that make sense. So it's like I'm trying to be very eclectic and work with different bands that I genuinely dig, because I don't really give a shit about strict genre tags. Like, I think to me the most important thing is good music's good music.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to put out good music and book cool shows that I would want to go to.
Yeah.
And I think a golden rule, if there's anything I want to share for bands and for people in bands, don't play shows you wouldn't go to if you were not playing.
Huh. That's a hard ask on your fans' part, right? You wouldn't pay to go to this, but you're asking your friends to like show up and
no.
support.
I mean, like, yeah. Well, for bands, a lot of bands are like, oh, this is a shitty show. And it's like, if you weren't playing, would you have went?
Yeah.
If you wouldn't have, don't play.
And what are you doing? Yeah. No, that's a good rule of thumb. I like that a lot.
But yeah, outside of that, man, I just. Hopefully the music's not too distracting in the background. I appreciate you taking the opportunity to do this and coming out. Like, I haven't done one of these before. Where I did a semi podcast with some friends in Fresno, where we just talked about our Central Valley connection, which I'm always gonna try to champion when I can.
Yeah.
And today we get to do another one from Merced, which is fucking awesome. I wish I didn't know that. That makes me even more excited, because I have love for the Central Valley. Like, you'll notice a lot of the bands I put out on my label, they're from concentrated areas of places that I've lived.
Oh, all right.
So it's like that's why I haven't lived in LA.
That's cool.
So I haven't really put out a lot of LA bands.
Yeah.
Not to say that LA is not sick. LA is fucking dope. I love some bands from LA. But I understand the struggle of being a band from the Central Valley, being a band from smaller places in Northern California, and I think it's important to kind of highlight those. And again, if I can share my platform, that's fucking excellent.
It's all kind of coming back. I remember a lot of the shows you were talking about, Mainzer and stuff like that, even further back, Fatty Mocha and stuff like that. I remember how exciting it used to be a part of that scene, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then it just kind of like died, man. We all kind of got jobs and grew up, and
I think when
a few of us passed away, and it just kind of just sunk everything. It was weird.
When Mainzer closed, that was a pretty big blow. And that's why I thought it was like so sick that Tigers and Daggers opened.
Yeah.
Because like, man, I went and saw like Shoo.
She was amazing.
A couple of times there.
I caught them like every time they were in Merced. They were so good.
Dude, they were fucking amazing.
Yeah.
And Jamie from Shoo is from Oakland. And like, I used to be obsessed with them, and seeing them at Mainzer was fucking amazing, and seeing all those bands was really fucking cool. And I just think that like those were pretty important times to me, and in shaping my mind and everything. So it's like I've always held on to those memories and looked at them fondly. There's some
that guy came from the scene too. That same scene. He used to come out to all our band shows and stuff too. So he's an old school head too, man.
That's awesome. Yeah. Seeing not to like trail off too much, but seeing Shoo, like Jamie had this like bowl of like glass marbles, like and he would just like stick dildos in them and
make anything an instrument.
Yeah. And it was like, and now I see so many noise artists that do like contact mics and stuff like that, but it was like Shoo was doing all that stuff 25 plus years ago, and like really pushing the experimental stuff.
Their whole little setup was different every time.
I
swear they always had something weird to clang and bang on, like every time they showed up, and sometimes it was slightly different members, so maybe that was a part of it, but I always remember it being so like it was not the same exact experience every time.
I think that I'm no shade at them, because I love their art and what they did, but I think that goes into the golden rule of not playing in bands with your significant others.
Oh,
and a lot of the times the lineups change because they broke up with their partners.
Interesting.
Who also played. It's like, I mean, how much talent do you need to like put a dildo into a bowl of marbles? And like say you're you're playing in the band. But,
and
like,
what do you call yourself? Like,
right, but
that's a very particular brand of instrumentalist, you know.
But it was art, you know, and that's that's kind of like what my takeaway from it, regardless of who they were making it with. It was artistic and like
they were definitely pushing creativity.
That was a special thing about the Mainzers. Like they put out these very like sort of eclectic showcases that weren't just typical. And
and for
I love that
reasoning
spot.
very similar to yours. RC was like, I book shows that I want to watch.
Right, exactly.
I book the bands that these guys are my friends and I love what they do. I just want to give them a spot. You know, he's still doing that over at the Partisan. So it's like,
oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So he hasn't changed in that regard at all. He's still very supportive of the underground scene. He's still a musician himself. He still goes on tour and still plays there sometimes too. And that's a spot you should definitely check out. We all love that spot.
Okay. I'll check that out because actually the band Citrus today, they told me that because we didn't know each other because of our age difference, but they went to a couple of shows that I used to book in Madera at the Royal 8, which was like,
I remember the Royal 8. I used to play there too.
Right. Yeah. So it's like, it's just cool to see the influence and like how things have been interconnected and like, it's rad. That's something that
we'll talk after the podcast, but I think I probably know you. Like the more I look at you and like you were booking shows, I'm pretty sure like we played some of your shows back in the day. Because it's you named every venue you've named. Like we played like nonstop and
I think that's
so sick.
That phenomenon is like, you know, exclusive to what we're doing in DIY, and that's what keeps me around with it. And like the idea of doing a label, like why I don't want to stop is like, it's really all I've known, and it's like the family and community that, you know, it's there, and it's always just been super important to me, and I just want to be a part of that. And
I don't know how to stop either. So
I look at the amount of money I've spent versus the amount of money that I have, and it's laughable. But
you just got to look at it when it's in the green. You never look at the negative. You're like, dude, we got paid $100 tonight.
In the green?
Like, you know? Never mind how much it cost for us to get here.
Totally, you know what I mean? I just try to live very modestly. Yeah. I'm good with owning 2 pairs of pants. Right. And like, you know, every couple of years I'll buy myself a jacket.
Nice.
But, you know, having 10,000 band shirts and, you know, thousands of records. You know, it's a trade-off.
Right.
So
exactly.
It's a trade-off that I'm happy with and confidently that I'm making a good choice with. So
I agree. Yeah. So where can people reach you? I notice you're on Instagram a lot, but like, what are your handles? What's the best spot for people to keep up with what the label's doing?
So you can just look up Transylvanian Recordings. That I have Instagram, Facebook, whatchamacallit.
I think the Bandcamp is great because the discography is like all laid out right there. You can easily
I should have a website going this year, but you can just go to transylvanianrecordings.com and it'll take you to all that stuff. And I
love on Instagram, you're on top of keeping people updated. It's like almost once a week you've been going live and kind of talking about what the label's doing and what you've been up to, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I try to stay interactive on there because unfortunately, the cocksuckers behind the internet,
the algorithm's getting vicious.
They will bury you if you don't have regular engagement. I personally prefer Bandcamp, but Bandcamp hasn't figured out the fact that they can be more social media based.
Right.
And if they did, I would probably just use that. But for
add
right
some
now,
more stuff to that community tab they got on the right side right over there.
So I try to do Instagram the most just to keep people updated because I think that they're still showing about 7% of your followers what you're posting, which is insane to say 7%.
Yeah.
But Facebook is like 1.5%. Like I'll see bands with like 100,000 followers post something with like 3 likes.
Oh my God.
And I'm just okay, that makes sense. And then Instagram's pretty bad too, but as long as you have like normal engagement and you respond to people and you regularly post, it works. But it's also, for me, as like a curmudgeon and like somebody that like is pretty antisocial. It's not something that I like to do. Like if you listen to any of the bands that I play in, you should probably have a pretty good idea of what sort of person I am. It's all very upset and angry music. I have a lot of issues. So like,
don't we all?
I can go off pretty quickly, and I have to try to remember to not do that. And I know that for the greater good, I will make the sacrifice and do my part to try to help people out, because at the end of the day, I'm just trying to get my friends' music heard. And like, that's why I do the label. And if I can just do that by posting, I'll do it. And that's really why I do the label.
It's like chaotic good alignment, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely don't.
Within, but
I don't go
for
in.
your benefit. I'm containing it and directing it into the most beautiful creativity you've ever seen, man.
Yes, awesome. And all the terrible, mean things that I want to say, I just keep to myself. Or they stay in email. If somebody really pisses me off, usually I'll tell them off. That's. I'm not here to use the platform to say bad things to people. I don't use the internet to talk shit. That's what real life's for.
Not quite as easy to do in face to face either. But
because people tend to not run their fucking mouths.
You'll run it through you'll play it back one time before you spit it out.
Some people will, but it's just all about helping things out and facilitating a cool community.
This has been amazing, man.
Thank you so much.
I'm so happy we talked.
It.
Like I've been looking forward to this for months. Like I said, I've been kind of keeping an eye on what you've been up to, waiting for that little opportunity to come hang out. Now that we've talked, I'm like even more excited. Like you said, I had no idea we were connected so much without even realizing it. So awesome.
One of my really good friends, I just confirmed to put out their new record, and I know them from, we all went to high school together in Madera, and their band used to play at the Mainzer all the fucking time, and they were called Everything All of the Time, and they were this sick like psychedelic rock jam band that not jam in like this sort of like dumb way, but like as in 2001, 2002, the Mars Volta blew up. So it's like a bunch of sick ass like Mexican dudes that play just shredding fucking like psychedelic rock. And those are like my closest friends, and they just put together a new band, and they just finished a recording after a long time.
Oh shit!
And I'm really, really excited to do that. And most of my connection to the Mainzer came from me going to shows that they played back in the day over there in Fresno. So
that's awesome.
And Madera and fucking Merced. So that's coming that I'm excited about. They're called Phantom Fruit. Phantom Fruit.
All right. No, I'll be checking that out too. Like the rest of your releases, but especially that one. Now that I got a little bit of the backstory. That's awesome.
Fuck yeah. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yeah. This is awesome. Thanks.
Yep.
Good. Cool, man.
Yeah.